So we've filled all of our holes. Haven't done it perfectly, but we've got most of it done. We've got some crumbs on the floor. We've swept up most of them. Anything we come across, we'll just grind off tomorrow or shave off. So we don't have to be perfect, but it's nice to get as much off as we can. Now, what we did is a few minutes ago, we set this paper down and we mixed our epoxy 50-50 and stirred it with a stick. We counted again 200 stirs to make sure that we have it done well. Notice I put it on some paper here, because if you spill some epoxy that isn't mixed, then all of a sudden you have a problem because you have some uncatalyzed epoxy. So we put it on, we spilled a little bit, but we're in pretty good shape. This is fine, not going to be enough to be a problem. We stirred this up. Now if you look at it, you'll see there's some bubbles. It's reacting, and we let that cure a little bit while we set up the rest of it. Now this epoxy isn't like the 100% solid. The 100% solid sets itself off in 20 to 40 to 60 minutes and it becomes hot and you can't use it anymore. The Duracell has solvents in it. It takes about 18 or 20 hours to kick off. We've mixed 2 full cans. We might not use all of it. If there's some left, we're just going to set this in a cool place with a piece of cardboard over it, and we can use it tomorrow as long as there's no skin on it by mixing some fresh in with it. I saved my cans here because I'm going to take and I'm going to pour a little bit of this back out into one can, and I'm going to use that for doing my cutting around the sides where my roller won't fit. So I'm going to pour a little bit into there. Again, I'm going to pour it on the paper so if I spill, I don't have much of a problem. Just enough so I can have something to work with. Now, we like to use we set up our rollers on a stick. I'm going to bring that stick over, and our brush. Now, if we don't have one of these little handy things, we just tape it on with some duct tape so we can stand up while we're doing our cutting. The rollers are threaded. All of them go together on the same handles we used our squeegees on. We're all set. Now, when you dip your rollers, these are hollow inside. If you submerge them, you can fill them full of liquid. And then when you pull it out, they get little lines of liquid leaking out. So just put it in halfway or so. Don't leave it submerged in the pail, and then roll it. If it starts sliding off, they tend to slide off this way. Turn it like this and hit it to make it go back on. If you hit it this way, it'll mush up your roller cover and put it out of alignment. If you have to grab it with your hand, then it's real messy. So hitting it on the wire side works real good for that. I set this in all the way and tighten it nicely. I'm just going to use this brush, and I'm going to brush like this around the edges and do all these brickwork as we go using my little pail. So we're all set to go. We're going to start in the back end. I'll start high and give him a place to start rolling his. Now as we go along here, we might come across a dust bunny or some lint or a bug. We just won't worry about it because we can catch that tomorrow and shave it out. But if we see something real big, we might get a rag, or if we get some epoxy where we don't want it, we might use our epoxy thinner to take that off. Now this material is thin. We can't fill any holes with it because if we do, it'll skin over and trap the solvents in the Duracell 400. So we can't use that for filling holes. We have to make sure we don't fool anything up. When you're going over wood, the wood is pretty absorbent, and we'll probably see the grain after the first coat. The second coat should fix that for us. So if you see the grain, don't worry about it. We'll go over the cut in here, it'll soak right in. That'll be fine, it'll seal it, and then tomorrow when we do it, it should look fine. Now we talked about this earlier, we could have masked all the edges, but sometimes when you mask it, it just wakes up underneath. So I'm disappointed a lot of times if I mask any area off. Sometimes I'd just rather be careful with the brush, at least I know what I have on. Okay, you notice that Steve is rolling right over the wet epoxy that we already have down. But he's wetting his roller as he goes over each one just so he doesn't pull it out of the hole. And he has to be a little careful. Sometimes he'll just roll it towards himself so he doesn't rub it out of the hole. If you notice when we do the block walls, it soaks in quite a bit on the block walls. They're very porous. It'll show through a little on the first coat, but it should seal it, and the second coat should cover nicely. One of the things we want to do is make sure you pull your garage door open so it's off the power door. So when we get out, we can pull it down. We don't want to glue it to the floor, so we're going to pull it down within about an inch. We're going to put a little stone under it. The other thing we did ahead of time, if you look over here, you see we put a piece of paper because our feet get epoxy on them sometimes, so we want to step off on the paper so we don't have a lot of epoxy thinner to clean up our spills. So we're going to finish rolling here. We're pretty close. We might make it. We might have to mix a little more epoxy. The first coat takes a little more than the second coat normally. We've got a 2-gallon kit here. It should work, but if we're a little short, we'll mix up a pint and a pint so we can use whatever's left over tomorrow. Now another important thing is don't ever pour the last of it out of the pail. What happens is each time you dip in the pail, any debris, lint, sand, bugs, goes to the bottom of the pail. So if you pour the last of it on the pail, you're pouring all that debris on. So keep dipping it right to the end. Otherwise you end up having the debris that you had ends up going on your floor right where you want it to look the best. Good. Okay, now we just throw these roller covers and frames. No use trying to save them. If you try to save them, sometimes the bearings on the roller frames goes out tomorrow and then you got a sticky mess. And then we just throw away the brush and the roller. We'll all use all new tomorrow when we do the top coat. And that way we're sure the bearings are still good on them. We won't get in the middle of it. Now you can use the roller frames again, and if you're going to do that, what I usually do is I just hit it right here. Which will get the end off without getting you all messy. And you can save this for tomorrow if you want. Now the next trick is to find a stone. I'll get one. And you want to shut the door for me, Steve? And what I do is I just put the stone on in. It's just to keep the door from touching the bottom and getting glue on it. Sometimes it gets out of control as you come down and you don't want to end up getting your fingers smashed. You pull it, Steve. coming. A little more, a little more. Good. Okay, and we're done.